Hi, Tori here. Today we're going to have a little chat about mental health and how it's so important. Mental health being how we look after our minds and how it can affect us if we don't look after them. So, the things that are closest to my heart in regards to my story and how that might be a value to you is I have suffered and dealt with challenges around depression and anxiety and panic attacks for a lot of my life up until my mid 20s. So at first, when I was younger, I just knew that I did not feel right. I didn't label it at the time. I just knew I didn't feel right. I didn't want to be here. I didn't feel like I fit in. I was always quite sad, always felt quite heavy, always felt really uncomfortable. I'd make plans and then not want to like go to them. I'd be excited to see people, but then I'd be like, oh no, I don't know if I want to. Um, and then I reached for things like, addiction to get me out of that, to stop me feeling that. So drugs and alcohol and well, that's all drugs, but um, even connection, when I say connection, it wasn't healthy connection. And yeah, anyway, reaching for anything just to take me out my mind, programs, films, always busy, always keeping busy so I don't have to think and feel. And then with the drug side of things, it would be, okay, this is great for like a couple of hours, but then I'd come down and be like, this feels worse. So then I would do it again, but in a stronger way. And anyway, that spiraled for years and I was very functional. Like, don't get me wrong, I could go out, I could work. So I would be able to handle like a good portion of the day for a while. Sometimes I would be doing things in the day as well, which was very sneaky. Um, and that wasn't for very long, but I was functional basically. I held down a job, I got money, I lived a normal life. But inside I was broken. Inside I was suffering so much. And I went from relationship to relationship trying to fill this void, wanting this love, wanting something that just I could never grasp, I could never reach. And then anger was a massive thing for me. Like I grew up in a very angry household. So my relationships were very, very angry and I always had lots of arguments and that was almost like another addiction for me, like that feeling of like this really big emotion like taking me over. That felt good even if it was really destructive. Um and then it would be like the tears after, so almost also like that aftermath that I like I enjoyed chaos basically, anger and chaos and anything that just kept things on surface level. I didn't have to go deep, I didn't have to feel. I felt like I lost one of the biggest loves of my life because of this, and I grieved for that for years, again in and out of relationships. I was holding on to that old love that I thought I always wanted. um we never got back together after that, but it was like 5 or 6 years I was just thinking of him, thinking I loved him so much. And again, that was probably my inner child, like wanting to cling on to that thing so that I was not going deep into other relationships. Anyway, I then met somebody else in a serious relation. I was in a serious relationship with them. We moved, lots of drugs, lots of festivals. He did not treat me very well either. And then I had a very big mental breakdown. Um, Before the breakdown, I was on medication. I was having panic attacks at work. I was driving for work and I'd had a number of crashes in my life. So actually, a lot of the panic attacks would get triggered with the driving, which was not very safe. And I was just uncomfortable with life, so uncomfortable with life. And was at a crossroads. I either keep going down this path and I'm probably going to take my life because I have thought about it a lot of times and, self-harmed. That would be inevitable going down that road. Or I need to dramatically change something. So I decided to dramatically change something. I left the relationship, blew it up. I grabbed all my stuff. I went back to my mum's room for a while I was I'd in the background been saving money to buy a home, so I was so close to doing that. So I moved back to my mum's while I was doing the home, buying the home, and the mortgage was going through. Held on to the job that I needed to hold on to be able to buy the house. And then as soon as all that had done, I was in the house, different job, no medication, focused on yoga, somatic work, body movement, qigong, meditation, looked at the food and nutrition I was eating, um, looked at the people I was surrounding myself with, the environments I was going into. Yeah, just dramatic change. And I was healing. Bit by bit, I was making sense of everything. And I did some inner child work, and I was facing a lot of stuff inside me. I even went down the road of Tantra, to help me get connected with that intimacy, like not not necessarily with somebody else, but with myself. I knew that love and nurturing was a big challenge for me, so I wanted to face that. I wanted to connect that to that within myself. And I became a person that I loved. I was really enjoying life. I was working a lot to pay the bills and things, but I was really enjoying what I was doing. I consciously chose the festivals I was going to, the people I was seeing and spending time with. Not saying I was healthy completely. I still went to the pub and had some drinks, and you know, all of my addictions weren't just completely gone, but it was very few and far between. And I actually started using drugs in a different way. It was in a very ceremonial way, in a way to like go on a journey and find an answer. And that changed things for me. It helped me heal. Um, 4 or 5 years later, I think, fast forward, I was feeling amazing. Um, and I met a boy. I'd say a man, but I met a boy. I think I was still a girl and he was a boy, even though we were in adult bodies. And I wanted to move. I wanted to move by the sea, and I was already in the process of like planning that out. And he lived in Devon. And I applied for lots of jobs in South Devon, Central Devon, North Devon, and all around. And anyway, it turns out I got a job right next to basically where he lived, like half an hour. So I uprooted my life. I rented out my house and I moved. Couldn't find anywhere to rent, and his family owned a campsite, so I moved onto his campsite, and it was amazing. I loved it. I was in the middle of a field, um, nature all around me, buzzards and trees. I'd go walking in the woodlands. They had woodlands there and a lake. 5 minute walk from the beach. I used to swim all the time. Then we got into surfing. I was really happy. And I thought, this is it. This is the image I had in my head with being in a field, and then being a part of something like someone, not someone else's family, but a community feel. So I was cooking for them once a week, and I was going to get involved in the campsite and doing food on the campsite, and it felt really lovely. But then certain people in the family did not want me to do certain things, so I was left out of that and told I couldn't do this and told I had to be different. I was even told that I couldn't, well, the gym that they had. So I was really into my fitness as well before I moved. I swapped the pub for fitness and spa, and I loved it. And so they had a gym on site, and it was just a private gym. But slowly, I wasn't allowed to go in there. And then, yeah, just one thing after another, things would happen. And I didn't notice at first, but my mental health was starting to be affected. I was starting to go more introvert. I was starting to be quieter. I was starting to not use my voice. All those things that I used to do would come back for my protector. Managing the room, hyper vigilant. Then I started to get exhausted. But me and the boy I met, um, we were in love, and we had all these plans, and we were talking about our future, and it felt amazing and aligned. So I stayed because that sounded Yeah. So I don't know if you can relate to that. Um, and I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of it all, but basically we're now not together. I'm now a single mum with two children, and he's in Devon, and I'm 4 hours away while I'm trying to rebuild things. Things got messy, and I let it happen slowly, slowly. That control, the controlling behaviors came into me again, and my even my posture, my shoulders were slumped, my back was hurting. And there was one thing after another that I just took on. I can take it, you know. It's all part of life. This is all part of life, and I can do this. I'm strong. Um, and then I got to the point where I had a breakdown again. But this time it was different because I was a mum and I went under the perinatal mental health team when I was pregnant with a baby. Um, and I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be a mum. I wanted my girls to go somewhere else because I thought that that is better for them because I didn't feel like I was the right person for them. Um, I was struggling and I had zero support around me apart from the perinatal mental health. And it took me a minute to then remember what I did last time. And when I made that decision, I'm changing my environment. My environment is suffocating me. It's not helping me grow. It's slowly killing me. I need to change it, dramatic change again. So I did. And now here I am, healed again. Well, I say healed, but I'm still um, piecing the bits together of my actual life. But in regards to my mindset, in regards to my mental health, in regards to my heart and my love and my connection to myself and my spirit, I'm here. I didn't let things go as far as they did before. And actually, the most interesting thing about that is I didn't have the addiction with my marriage. I I'd stopped all substances and everything like 7 years ago. So then I was actually faced with these emotions that I had to feel because I couldn't reach for the thing that I used to numb it for with. And that felt scary, but it helped so much in my growth and my in my human evolution for a Tory. Um, and yeah, just that realization of clean, healthy water, drinking enough hydration, proper food and nutrition, proper movement and exercise, and time to still meditation, and realizing who you are surrounding yourself with. I then put boundaries up to who I wanted to surround myself with, who was I willing to see. And before, you know, the marriage was over, I said that I needed these boundaries and it wasn't understood. I was told that I just had to keep the peace and get on with it and stop being, you know. So that was it. I knew I can't be myself, and that's not healthy. So the reason I share this story with you is if any of that resonates with you, you're not broken, you're not alone, you're not lost. You're right here. And sometimes the scariest thing to do is to feel yourself. Sometimes the scariest thing to do is to love yourself and nurture yourself, especially if we were told that we can't, especially if we didn't have love and nurture from other people, especially if we were told we need to not be ourselves to be accepted. We're human. We are meant to be in community. We are meant to be connected with others. And our society now is set up for such segregation. You know, even our gardens, we've got fences up, we've got four walls, we don't really interact with other people. We go to work, we kind of say hi to our co-workers, we come back home, we're in our house again. We have a bit of freedom at the weekend. It's not, our society is not set up for living, and I really want to change that because mental health is really big. There's so many of us suffering in quiet. There's so many of us isolated in our houses. There's so many of us not feeling like we are actually living. And it's because of the stress that we're putting ourselves under, that society's putting on us. It's because of the stress of our families, maybe even our friends. Like, we don't give ourselves permission to stop and think and say if that person is right for us or not. We're like, oh, well, we've known them for so many years, and we make all these excuses as to why they're behaving that way or what they're saying to us. They're just a really old friend, and that's just who they are. That might be who they are, but they might not be your people, your person to help you thrive. I feel that so many of us suffer with mental health and don't reach out. So it gets harder and worse, harder and worse in our minds. And then we find it harder to reach out. And when we do reach out, it's kind of a minefield in regards to what support is out there. And it's very much clinical support, which, of course, there is a place for that. There definitely is. And that's helped me so much as well. But there needs to be a place for holistic, whole body and mind approach as well. So, not just medication. Okay, you might need medication, but then we use other tools to help you so you can come off that medication, because medication is not a long-term fix. It doesn't fix you, it masks what's going on. It's like putting a plaster over it instead of actually getting to the root cause. So if you're interested in how I've healed myself, how I have the modalities and the tools to support me through really stressful situations now. I mean, I'm not saying this to be the victim, but recently it's been a change of area, homeless for 6 months, trying to get somebody out my house with court, difficult co-parenting, obviously grieving a life and relationship I thought I was having, solo motherhood with 2 young children, difficulties with other relationships in my life. Like, it's been relentless on top of that with like illness and everything. And I feel like I can hold that. Yes, I have days where I struggle. Of course, I am human and I only have a certain capacity. But the majority of the time, I am so proud that I hold those things. I let them flow through me. I approach them with a solution-based approach. I think, what can I do now and what can't I do now? Problem solving. I don't take it all on and keep it all inside anymore. And I really want to share that with other people. I really want to help other people be able to manage their life and to feel love and wholesome and like they're living. They're being the person or moving closer towards the person that they want to be more and more. Let it flow through you. Stop holding it tight in your muscles. So yeah, anyway, that's my little share of a little bit of my personal story and why I'm so passionate about this work. And if you are interested at all, yeah, drop me a comment, dragonfly or a little emoji, and I'll reach out to you personally. And there's a few options with what I can support you with.